The planet Vale was a world of crystal towers, shining rivers, and endless skies. Every morning the twin suns rose and covered the land in silver light. It was peaceful now, but peace had come at a cost. 20 years ago, Vale had been a battlefield where humans and the alien people called the Violari fought for survival. The war ended with bitterness and silence, leaving scars that time could not easily heal. In the great city of Iralis, the royal palace stood like a mountain of glass and metal. Inside, Queen Serath walked slowly down the main hall. Her eyes, once sharp with command, now carried the weight of waiting. Her long robe trailed behind her, whispering across the floor. She had ruled through war and peace, but nothing had tested her heart like the loss of her daughter, Mira. Mira had vanished during the last years of the human war. Many believed she had died in battle. Others whispered she had been captured by humans. Serath had never allowed herself to believe either story. Every night she would stand on the balcony and look at the stars, wondering if her child was somewhere among them, alive and alone. That morning, a message came through the palace communication crystal. It carried a voice that froze everyone in the room. The voice said, "This is Mira of Vale, daughter of Serath. I'm coming home." The word struck the queen like thunder. For a long moment she could not breathe. Then she whispered only one order to her guards: "Prepare the landing field." Hours later, the city gathered in silence. The citizens stood in the shining streets looking up at the skies. From the horizon came a small ship, worn and scarred by time. It was not built by the Violari. Its shape was human. The guards shifted uneasily, ready for anything. When the ship landed in the royal court, steam and dust filled the air. A heavy silence followed. Then the ramp lowered and a figure appeared in the light. It was Mira. Her hair, once silver-white, had darkened from years of sun and hardship. Her eyes were steady and calm, but her face carried stories no one could read. She walked slowly down the ramp, dressed in simple fabric that looked foreign. Her steps were careful, but each one echoed with pride. Behind her came a smaller figure, a child no older than 7. His hair was dark brown, his eyes bright and curious. He held Mira's hand tightly. The court gasped. The child was clearly human. The guards looked at each other. Murmurs began to rise like a wave through the court. Some stepped back in shock, others frowned in disbelief. Never before had a human stood inside the royal walls of Vale. Mira stopped at the foot of the stairs leading to her mother's throne. Queen Serath stood there unmoving. For a long moment they only looked at each other. The years apart had changed them both. Mira's eyes filled with tears, but her voice was steady when she spoke. "Mother, I have returned." Serath's voice trembled slightly. "You were lost to me, child. They said you were gone." "I was taken," Mira answered. "But I lived, and I found more than I ever expected." She looked down at the child beside her. "This is Leo, my son." The hall fell silent again. The queen's advisors exchanged alarmed looks. Some whispered warnings to Serath, urging her to reject the girl who had broken their law by joining with another species. But Serath raised her hand, silencing them all. Her eyes never left the boy. The child looked back at her without fear. He stepped forward, small but steady, and bowed slightly in the human way. "Hello," he said, his voice clear. "My mother said you are my grandmother." The words softened the air. Even the guards who had been ready to draw weapons now stood unsure. There was innocence in the child's voice that no hatred could touch. Serath slowly descended the stairs. The weight of her crown seemed heavier than ever. When she reached Mira, she stopped only an arm's length away. "You carry human blood," she said softly. "You bring a child of our enemies into my hall." "Tell me why," Mira lifted her chin. "Because he is not an enemy. Because he is a child of both worlds. I have seen humans, Mother. They are not all cruel. Many fight only to live as we do. I could not hate them forever. I found love, and from that love came Leo." The queen studied her daughter's face. Behind Mira's calm words was a strength that reminded Serath of herself in younger years. Yet the pain of the past made her hesitate. Her mind replayed the memories of war, the burning skies, the soldiers lost, the sorrow that followed. And now, standing before her was a living sign that peace might be possible, or that betrayal had come home wearing her daughter's face. At last, Serath spoke. "You will stay in the palace tonight. We will talk when the sun rises again." Her tone was cold, but not cruel. She turned to her guards. "See that they are treated with respect." Mira nodded in silent gratitude. As she and Leo were led to the guest chambers, whispers filled the hall once more. Some called her brave, others a traitor, but the queen said nothing more. When the doors closed, she stood alone in the empty hall, her thoughts heavy as stone. In their quarters, Leo wandered around, curious about the glowing walls and the floating lights that filled the air. He touched everything with wonder. "Mother, it's so bright here," he said. "Is this where you lived when you were small?" Mira smiled faintly. "Yes, but it feels like another lifetime now." Leo looked up at her. "Will they like us here?" She hesitated. "I don't know, Leo. They fear what they don't understand." "But you must be kind. Show them what it means to be human. Show them why I came back." That night, Mira could not sleep. She sat by the window and looked at the stars of Vielle, stars she had not seen in 20 long years. Her heart was full of memories. She remembered the day she had been captured by a human scouting team. They had not harmed her. Instead, they had shown her mercy. Among them was a man named Daniel. He was calm, patient, and brave. Over the years, they had fallen in love. When peace was declared, she had chosen to stay with him. Together, they had built a small life on the edge of a human colony. But when Daniel passed away from illness, she had promised to return home for Leo's sake. She had not known how her people would receive her. In another part of the palace, Queen Sereth sat alone in her private chamber. She looked at an old portrait of Mira as a child, laughing beside her father. The queen's heart ached with memories of warmth long gone. She could still remember holding her daughter for the first time. Now she was back, but changed, and she had brought with her a boy who carried both hope and danger. An old advisor named Kael entered quietly. "My queen," he said, bowing. "The people are unsettled. Many think the princess has betrayed her kind." Serath closed her eyes. "They do not understand what she has endured." Kael spoke gently. "Perhaps not. But the child she brings is human. That will not be easily accepted." The queen's gaze turned toward the balcony, where the twin suns were setting. "Then they must learn," she said. "If my daughter can find light among our enemies, perhaps we have judged too quickly. But I will not decide tonight. The boy's fate and hers will be judged when the dawn comes." When morning arrived, the city buzzed with talk. Some were angry, others curious. But one thing was certain. The return of Mira and the arrival of her human child had stirred something deep in the hearts of the Velari. Hope, fear, wonder, and the beginning of change. As the first rays of sunlight touched the palace towers, Mira held her son's hand and whispered, "Stay close to me, Leo. Today, our true test begins, and somewhere high above." Watching from her balcony, Queen Sereth whispered to herself, "The stars have sent her back to me. But what else have they brought?" Morning light spread across the palace of Eralis like flowing gold. The twin suns rose slowly, their light shining through the crystal walls. Servants hurried through the corridors, preparing for what everyone knew would be a day of judgment. The queen had ordered a royal council to decide the fate of Mira and her human child. Inside the guest chamber, Mira helped Leo dress. He wore a simple gray tunic made by the palace tailors. He looked at his reflection in a silver mirror and smiled shyly. "Mother, do I look strange to them?" he asked. Mira brushed his hair gently. "You look perfect, Leo. Some may not understand who you are yet, but you must not fear them. Remember, kindness is stronger than anger." Leo nodded, though his eyes held worry. "Will the queen be angry with us today?" Mira paused for a moment, then said softly, "She is my mother. Her heart may be heavy, but I know there is love still inside it." Soon 2 guards arrived to escort them to the council hall. The hall was vast, shaped like a circle, its ceiling covered in glowing blue crystals. The queen sat on a raised seat carved from living stone, surrounded by her 12 advisors. Every seat in the gallery was filled with nobles, scholars, and officers who had come to see the daughter of the queen and the strange child she had brought from another world. When Mira entered with Leo beside her, whispers filled the chamber. Some spoke with curiosity, others with anger. Words like betrayal, human, and shame floated in the air like poison. But Mira walked with calm grace, holding Leo's hand firmly. She stopped in the center of the hall and bowed before her mother. Queen Sereth looked down at her, her expression unreadable. "Mira of Vale, my daughter," she said in a clear voice. "You stand before your people after 20 years of silence. You have returned not alone, but with a child who carries human blood. The council must know where you have been and why you bring this boy here." Mira took a breath and began to speak. When the war ended, I was taken from the battlefield by a group of human explorers. They did not harm me. Instead, they helped me heal. I lived among them. I learned their ways and saw how they live with the same hopes and fears as we do. Over time, I met a man named Daniel. He was brave, gentle, and full of patience. He taught me that peace can begin with understanding. He became my husband, and together we had Leo. The hall grew restless. An advisor named Draven stood up sharply. You married a human? You brought their blood into our royal line? That is unforgivable. You have tainted our purity. Mira's voice remained steady. There is no purity in hate, Lord Draven. There is only loneliness. I found life and love, not corruption. Draven's eyes narrowed. And what of this child? What if he grows to betray us? What if he carries their hunger for conquest in his heart? Leo took a small step forward. His hands were trembling, but his voice was clear. I do not want to hurt anyone. My father taught me to build, not destroy. I can fix things. I can learn. Please do not be afraid of me. The hall fell silent for a moment. Some of the nobles looked away, uncomfortable. The innocence in the boy's tone reminded them of their own children. Queen Sarath leaned forward. The people of Vale must decide how to see you, she said slowly. But know this, child. You stand in a place where memories of the war still burn. Many here lost family to the humans. It will take time before they can look at you and see peace instead of pain. Leo nodded, trying to be brave. I understand, Your Majesty. The Queen studied him carefully. There was no fear in his eyes, only sincerity. Something stirred inside her, a feeling she had not allowed herself in many years. The council continued to question Mira. They asked about human technology, about their weapons, about their worlds. Mira answered every question with honesty. She spoke of machines powered by thought, of ships that could cross light years, and of human courage that survived in the face of endless struggle. But every word also deepened the divide in the room. Some saw potential friendship. Others saw danger. The debate grew heated until the Queen raised her hand for silence. This council will end for now, she said firmly. I have heard enough. My daughter and her child will remain in the palace under protection until I decide their place among us. Mira bowed. Thank you, Mother. As they left the hall, the nobles continued whispering. Some faces showed hatred, others quiet curiosity. Among them, a young advisor named Talon watched Mira and Leo with interest. He was the son of a soldier who had died in the war, yet he felt something different. There was no hate in him, only a wish to understand. Later that day, Mira and Leo were allowed to walk through the palace gardens. The air was filled with soft light and the scent of strange flowers that glowed in the sunlight. Leo ran among them, laughing. The plants responded to his touch, blooming brighter as if greeting him. A group of children from noble families saw him and whispered among themselves. At first they stayed away, afraid, but Leo smiled and waved. He showed them how to fold small gliders from leaves and toss them into the air. Soon laughter replaced fear, and they played together under the twin suns. From a nearby balcony, Queen Sarath watched. The sight softened her expression. Her old advisor, Kyle, stood beside her. He has a kind heart, Kyle said. Yes, Sarath replied quietly, but kindness is not always enough to protect one from cruelty. Perhaps, Kyle said, but sometimes it is enough to change others. That evening, a banquet was arranged to welcome Mira's return. The grand hall was filled with light and music. Long tables displayed food from every region of Vile. Mira sat beside her mother, while Leo sat between two noble children who seemed fascinated by his stories of Earth. He told them about the blue oceans, the green forests, and the birds that sang at sunrise. His words painted pictures none of them had ever imagined. But not everyone enjoyed the moment. Lord Draven and his supporters sat silently, their faces cold. When Leo accidentally dropped his cup, spilling juice across the table, Draven stood and spoke loud enough for all to hear. See how clumsy this human child is. He does not belong in a royal hall. The laughter that followed was short and bitter. Mira started to rise, but Leo beat her to it. He stood, picked up the cup, and bowed to Draven. I am sorry, sir. I will be careful next time. His calm response silenced the room. Even Draven was caught off guard. The Queen watched quietly, noting the discipline in the boy's face. When the banquet ended, Sarath called Mira to her private chamber. She dismissed the guards and spoke softly. Your son is brave, and you have raised him well. But you must understand what danger you bring by coming here. There are those who will not rest until he is gone. Mira met her eyes. I know, Mother. But I could not let him grow without knowing where he came from. He has a right to his mother's world. The Queen turned toward the balcony. You always had your father's stubborn heart. Perhaps that is why I cannot turn you away. Mira stepped closer. Will you give him a chance, Mother? Not as a ruler, but as a grandmother? The Queen said nothing for a moment. Then she nodded slowly. Tomorrow I will see him again, alone. That night, when Mira told Leo that the Queen wanted to meet him privately, he became both nervous and excited. Do you think she likes me now? He asked. Mira smiled. She does not say much, but I think she is beginning to see who you really are. As the palace lights dimmed and the stars filled the sky, the Queen stood alone in her room once more. She looked at the portrait of her daughter as a child, and then at the night sky above. For the first time in 20 years, she felt something close to peace. But deep within the palace walls, in the shadows of power, voices were already planning. Lord Draven gathered his loyal followers. His eyes burned with anger as he whispered to them. If the Queen will not protect our kind from this human blood, then we will. Outside, the twin moons rose, silver and silent. Inside the palace, both love and danger were awakening. And in the heart of a small boy named Leo, hope continued to shine brighter than fear. Morning came with soft silver light spilling over the towers of Iralis. Inside the royal palace, the air was quiet but heavy with expectation. Everyone knew that Queen Sereth had called for a private meeting with the human child. The guards spoke of it in whispers, and the servants moved carefully, afraid to disturb the mood of their ruler. In her chamber, Sereth sat near a tall window, her robe shining faintly under the morning light. Her mind was filled with thoughts that refused to rest. She remembered her daughter's words, the look in her eyes, and the calm bravery of the child who had bowed before her counsel. She wanted to understand how such peace could come from the blood of a people she had once fought so fiercely. A gentle knock came at the door. A guard entered and bowed. My queen, the princess and her son await outside. Sereth nodded. Let them enter. Mira walked in, guiding Leo by the hand. The boy looked nervous but curious. He bowed politely. Good morning, Your Majesty, he said. Sereth studied him. You may call me grandmother if you wish, she said softly. Leo's eyes widened. Really? Thank you, grandmother. The Queen's heart stirred at the sound of the word. She had not expected it to touch her so deeply. She gestured toward the balcony. Come, Leo, walk with me. The boy followed her, stepping onto the wide stone balcony that overlooked the shining city. The twin suns glowed above, and airships floated in the distance like silver birds. It is beautiful, Leo said quietly. It is, Sereth replied. This is the world your mother was born to rule. The people you see down there once fought against your father's kind. Leo turned toward her. Mother told me about the war. She said both sides were afraid. But it ended, didn't it? Yes, Sereth said. But fear does not end easily. It hides in hearts waiting to rise again. Leo looked thoughtful. Maybe it goes away faster if people start helping each other instead of hiding from each other. The Queen looked down at him, surprised by his simple wisdom. You speak like someone much older than your years. Leo smiled. My father said the same thing. He used to tell me that small hands can still build big things. Sereth felt her chest tighten. She saw in him something she had not seen in a long time. Innocence mixed with quiet strength. For the first time, she began to believe her daughter's words. Perhaps the boy was not a danger, but a chance. They spoke for a long time. Leo asked questions about the city, the people, and even the stars. Sereth answered patiently, feeling her heart grow lighter with every question. When Mira came to take Leo back to their room, the Queen stopped her. Leave him with me for a while longer. I wish to show him something. Mira hesitated, but then nodded. As you wish, Mother. When she was gone, Sereth led Leo through a long hallway filled with old paintings and relics. These are the memories of our people, she said. Each one tells a story of our victories and losses. They stopped before a large painting of soldiers standing under a burning sky. This was the last battle of the human war, she said quietly. Your kind was strong, clever, and fierce. Many of my people died that day. I lost more than soldiers. I lost faith in peace. Leo looked at the painting and then at the Queen. My father used to say that every side in a war loses something. Maybe that means both sides should try harder not to fight again. Sereth turned to him slowly. You speak with courage, little one. I see why your mother loves you so deeply. At that same moment, deep within the palace, Lord Draven met with his followers. His anger had grown since the council. The queen has gone blind with love, he said coldly. She is letting a human child poison her mind. If she will not act, then we must. One of his supporters asked, What do you plan to do? Draven's eyes narrowed. Tonight, when the palace lights dim, we will take the boy. We will make the queen see what danger she has allowed into our walls. As the day passed, Leo stayed with the queen, learning about the Vilary ways. She showed him the gardens where flowers responded to thought and the halls where crystals stored the memories of the past. The boy was fascinated by everything. When one of the crystal lamps flickered and stopped glowing, Leo knelt beside it. May I try to fix it? He asked. The queen raised an eyebrow but allowed it. Leo opened the small casing and examined the inside carefully. He pulled a small tool from his pocket, one he had made himself aboard the ship. With patient fingers, he adjusted the connection and replaced a thin metal thread. The light returned brighter than before. The queen blinked in surprise. How did you do that? Leo grinned. Humans fix things by hand. My father taught me that even if you don't have power or magic, you can still use your mind to make things work again. Sarath felt an unexpected warmth rise within her. Perhaps there is more strength in human hands than I once believed. That evening, Mira returned to collect her son. The queen placed her hand gently on Leo's shoulder. You have shown me much today, child. I am grateful. Leo smiled proudly. Can I visit you again tomorrow? Sarath nodded. Yes, you may. After they left, Sarath stood alone in the quiet hall. She looked at the glowing crystal that Leo had repaired and whispered, Perhaps the hands that build can heal what the hearts have broken. Night came softly over the city. The palace lights dimmed and silence filled the corridors. Mira and Leo slept in their chamber, unaware that danger was moving through the shadows. Lord Draven and his followers, dressed in dark armor, slipped past the guards who secretly served them. Their goal was simple, to remove the human boy and blame it on an accident. But fate had its own plan. As they reached the guest wing, a young guard named Talon noticed movement. He followed them quietly and soon realized what they intended. Talon had seen Leo earlier that day and had been moved by his innocence. He could not allow harm to come to him. He stepped into the hallway and called out, Stop, you have no right to be here. Draven turned sharply. Stand aside, boy. This is none of your concern. It is my concern, Talon said firmly. The queen would never allow this. Before Draven could respond, Talon struck the alarm crystal on the wall. The sound of ringing light filled the corridors. Guards came running. Draven and his followers tried to flee, but they were surrounded within moments. The queen herself appeared, her eyes blazing. What is the meaning of this? She demanded. Draven bowed slightly, but his voice was full of anger. We only sought to protect our people. That boy is a danger. He must not remain. Sarath's voice turned cold. You dare take action in my palace without my command? You will face judgment for this. Draven glared at her. Then judge me, but know this, my queen. You are blinded by your daughter's love. When that human child brings ruin, remember who warned you. The queen stepped closer, her voice strong and calm. The only ruin I see is the hate that clouds your heart. Guards, take them away. As Draven and his men were led off, Sarath turned to Talon. You showed courage tonight. You will be rewarded. Talon bowed deeply. I only did what was right, my queen. When the danger had passed, Sarath went to her daughter's chamber. Mira and Leo were awake, frightened by the noise. The queen knelt beside the boy's bed. You are safe now, Leo. There are those who still fear what they do not understand, but they will not touch you. Leo looked up at her, sleepy but calm. Thank you, grandmother. The queen smiled faintly. Rest now. Tomorrow the city will see the truth for themselves. When morning came, the story of the attack spread quickly. People spoke of how the queen herself had protected the human boy. Some began to question their own fear. In the marketplace, merchants told each other that perhaps the boy was not a threat but a gift. Children who had played with him defended him proudly. The winds of change were starting to blow across Vale. In her throne room, Sarath looked out over her city and felt a sense of clarity she had not known in years. She whispered to herself, Perhaps peace does not begin with treaties or swords. Perhaps it begins with a single child unafraid to hold both worlds in his hands. And far above, in the clear twin skies, the suns of Vial rose higher. shining upon a world slowly learning that even the smallest heart could hold the power to change everything. The day began with an uneasy calm over the palace of Eralis. The twin suns shone brightly, but their light could not reach the tension in the halls. Rumors of the previous night's attack spread quickly, and whispers of fear and anger filled every corridor. Some nobles remained unconvinced that the human child, Leo, posed no danger. Lord Draven's followers, though confined, still held secret influence in the shadows. Mira prepared Leo for the day with care. She brushed his hair and straightened his tunic. "Stay close to me, Leo. Today may be difficult, but remember what we learned yesterday. Kindness and courage are stronger than fear." Leo nodded, his small hands gripping hers. "I will be brave, Mother." As they walked toward the royal council chamber, guards and attendants stared at them. Some whispered questions about the boy. Others muttered about what could happen if the queen showed favoritism. Mira held her head high, showing confidence even in the eyes of those who doubted her. When they entered the council chamber, Queen Serath rose from her throne. Her eyes were steady, commanding attention. "Today we decide the future of my daughter and this child," she said, her voice calm yet full of authority. "But before any judgment is made, I will speak with the boy alone." Leo followed the queen to a small balcony overlooking the palace gardens. The air was warm, and the soft hum of the city below filled the space. "Leo," the queen began, "many here do not understand you. Some see only what you are not, but I see who you are. You have shown courage, intelligence, and kindness." The boy looked up at her. "I just want to do the right thing, grandmother." Serath knelt beside him. "The right thing is not always easy. Some may try to hurt you because they fear what they do not know. You must stay strong. You must protect your mother, and you must protect yourself with your mind, not with anger." Leo nodded, determination bright in his eyes. "I will try, grandmother." At that moment, chaos erupted in the council chamber. Lord Draven and his followers broke free from confinement. They had hidden keys and clever tricks that allowed them to escape unnoticed. Armed with energy blades, they charged toward the hall, demanding the removal of the human child. Guards rushed to intercept them, but the numbers of the rebels were greater than expected. Shouts and alarms filled the air as sparks flew from weapons clashing. Mira held Leo tightly, shielding him behind her. "Stay behind me, Leo," she commanded. "Do not be afraid." Leo nodded, but his mind raced. He saw the danger, and despite his small size, he wanted to act. He remembered his father's lessons, to use his hands and his mind to solve problems, not to hurt others. Looking around, Leo noticed the control panels along the walls. They powered lights, shields, and other protective systems in the palace. With careful steps, he moved closer to one. Using a small tool from his pocket, he began to adjust the wiring. Sparks flew briefly, but he worked steadily, reconnecting the circuits in a new configuration. Suddenly, a powerful barrier of energy expanded across the hall. The rebels were trapped, unable to move forward. Their attacks bounced harmlessly off the shield. Guards seized the moment to subdue them one by one. Mira stared at her son in amazement. "Leo, how did you—" "I remembered what father said," Leo answered simply. "Even small hands can change big things." Queen Serath stepped forward, her eyes wide with astonishment. She looked at Leo and then at her daughter. "Your child is not only brave but clever. He has saved many lives today." The room was quiet now, except for the subdued rebels and the guards who stood in awe. The nobles who had doubted Leo looked at him differently. Some bowed their heads in respect. Others whispered in shock, realizing that courage and intelligence could come in the smallest forms. After the conflict, Serath addressed the council. "This child has proven himself more than any warrior in this hall. He acted with courage, intelligence, and care. Those who seek to harm him will face judgment for their actions. Let this be a lesson to all of Vile. Fear should never govern justice." Mira held Leo tightly, pride and relief washing over her. The boy had not only protected himself, but had also defended his mother and the people of the palace. His actions spoke louder than words ever could. Later, in the quiet of the gardens, Serath walked with Mira and Leo. The air smelled of glowing flowers and fresh water from the crystal fountains. Leo ran ahead, laughing softly, and touched the petals of a flower that glowed brighter with his warmth. "This boy," Serath said softly to Mira, "he is extraordinary. He carries not only your courage but something unique. He reminds us that even in a world of power and magic, the strength of the mind and heart can change everything." Mira smiled, tears in her eyes. He is only a child, Mother, but he carries the hope of both our worlds. That is why I returned. That is why I brought him home. Sirath placed a hand on Mira's shoulder. You have done well. You have given him life, and you have given me a chance to see the future in a new way. At that moment, a group of children from the noble families approached Leo. They had been watching him during the day and saw his bravery. Slowly, they began to smile and invite him to play. Leo accepted eagerly, showing them simple games from Earth. The children laughed, forgetting fear and anger. Queen Sarath watched from a distance, her eyes softening. Perhaps the future of Vale is not only in the hands of those who rule with power, but in the hands of those who act with courage and kindness. As night fell, Mira and Leo returned to their chambers. The palace was quiet now, and the lessons of the day hung in the air. Even the nobles who had opposed Leo began to reconsider. Perhaps fear had blinded them for too long. Sarath remained in her private chambers, thinking of the boy. She recalled the battles of the past, the wars fought with fire and energy, and the losses that had haunted her people. And yet here was a child who had shown that one small heart, guided by love and wisdom, could protect many and bring hope to a troubled world. She touched the glowing crystal on her table, thinking of the future. Maybe it is time, she whispered, to believe that humans and Vailari can share a world. Perhaps our differences are not a weakness but a chance to grow stronger. In the quiet corridors, Lord Draven and his followers were held in secure cells. They glared at each other but knew that their plan had failed. The boy had outsmarted them without fighting, and the Queen's power ensured that their rebellion would not succeed. Mira sat beside Leo, brushing his hair back gently. You were amazing today, she said softly. You saved everyone, not with violence, but with your mind and courage. Leo smiled sleepily. I just wanted to help, Mother. I did what you taught me. Mira hugged him tightly. That is more than enough. You have shown everyone here that humans are not only strong, but capable of goodness that can touch all worlds. Far above the palace, the twin moons rose slowly, their silver light reflected in the crystal towers below. The city of Aralis was alive with whispers of hope and change. People spoke of a human child who had faced danger without fear, who had used intelligence instead of weapons, and who had reminded them that courage could come from the smallest hearts. Queen Sarath stood by her balcony one last time before night fully fell. She looked at her daughter and grandson, knowing that the path ahead would not be easy. There would still be those who feared the human blood that ran through Leo's veins, but tonight she allowed herself to hope. Tonight she believed that even in a world filled with power and pride, one child could change the hearts of many. And in the heart of Leo, a small boy with human blood, a new understanding grew. He did not yet know the full weight of the future, but he knew one simple truth. Courage, kindness, and cleverness could shine brighter than any sword. And with those he could protect his family, his mother, and even the people of Vael who had once feared him. The night was quiet, but the story of bravery, love, and hope had begun to spread. Across the palace and the city, the whispers of change moved like wind, touching every corner. The people of Vale were learning that the smallest hand could hold the power to protect and heal. And in that truth, the future of both worlds began to glimmer with light. Morning broke over the crystal city of Aralis, filling the towers with warm golden light. The twin suns rose slowly, casting their glow on the streets, gardens, and the palace. Today would mark the final judgment of Mira and her son Leo, though the events of the previous day had already shifted hearts. People whispered in the streets, some with hope, others with caution, but everyone agreed that the boy had changed something within their city. Inside the royal palace, Queen Sarath stood in her throne chamber, her robe flowing around her. The room was filled with nobles, advisors, and guards. They looked expectantly at her, waiting for her words. She took a deep breath, remembering the events that had unfolded since her daughter's return. The courage of the small human boy, his cleverness, and the calm strength of Mira had shown her the truth. Fear and pride could no longer dictate their future. Sarath's voice filled the hall. For 20 years we have lived in a world divided. We fought with humans and we suffered because of that war. But today we have seen that courage, wisdom, and kindness are not limited to one species. My daughter and her child have shown us that hearts and minds, not bloodlines alone, shape the future. The nobles murmured. Some still hesitated, but the words carried weight. Sarath continued. Leo, you have demonstrated intelligence beyond your years. You have defended this palace and its people without raising a weapon. You have shown bravery and care. For this you are welcome in my home." Leo's eyes widened and he bowed deeply. "Thank you, grandmother. I will do my best to protect our world." Mira stepped forward and knelt beside him. "Mother, I am grateful for your choice. Together, we can bring peace and understanding between our worlds." Serath's gaze softened as she looked at both her daughter and grandson. "You have returned to me with a gift I did not expect. You remind me that love and courage are stronger than fear." Across the hall, the nobles who had opposed the child and Mira exchanged looks. Some lowered their heads in shame. Others whispered, beginning to understand that the boy was not a threat but a symbol of change. Even Lord Draven, though still defiant, could not argue against the evidence of Leo's actions. The Queen raised her hand for silence. "From this day forward, Mira and Leo will remain in the palace. Leo shall be treated as part of the royal family. He represents the possibility of unity, a bridge between humans and Valerie. Let all who dwell in this city remember that courage and kindness are the true measures of greatness." The hall filled with quiet awe. Mira held Leo's hand, feeling the warmth of acceptance surround them. For the first time in decades, she saw the Queen smile freely without worry or pain. After the council, the Queen led Mira and Leo through the palace gardens. The air was filled with the scent of glowing flowers and the soft sound of water from crystal fountains. Birds with silver feathers sang in the trees, and the gardens glimmered in the morning sunlight. "Leo," the Queen said, bending down to his level, "this garden is part of our history. Every plant, every tree has been nurtured with care. It is a place of learning and peace. You will help us protect it, will you?" Leo nodded eagerly. "I will, grandmother." "I want to learn everything," Serath smiled. "Good. You will not only learn, but also teach. Show the people that courage and cleverness can be found in every heart, regardless of where it comes from." Mira walked beside them, her eyes glistening. "Mother, we can finally begin building something new. Something stronger than war." "Yes," Serath said softly. "We will teach our people that understanding can replace fear, and hope can replace hate." As the day progressed, word spread throughout the city that Mira and Leo had been fully accepted by the Queen. People came to see the boy, some hesitant, some curious. Leo greeted them politely, answering their questions with honesty and a bright smile. He spoke of his father's teachings, of human inventions, and of ways to make life easier for everyone. In one courtyard, he showed a group of children how to construct small flying gliders from leaves and lightweight materials. The children laughed and played, and their parents watched in amazement. The boy's presence had softened many hearts. Even the guards and palace workers who had been skeptical began to see Leo differently. He was clever, brave, and kind. He fixed small machines that had not worked for years and helped the gardeners create new designs for the glowing plants. Each act of care and intelligence proved his worth to the people of Vile. That evening, the Queen called Mira and Leo to her private chamber. "You have done well," she said. "Not just today, but from the moment you returned. You have reminded us of what we once forgot, that courage, wisdom, and love are greater than fear and anger." Leo looked up at her. "I only did what I thought was right." Serath placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "That is why your heart is strong. You remind us all that true strength comes from the mind and the heart working together." Mira smiled and hugged her son. "He has learned well, Mother." "He carries the best of both worlds," the Queen nodded. "And now it is time to celebrate. Tonight, the palace will hold a gathering to honor the courage and unity that you have brought." The celebration began under the stars. The twin moons shone brightly over the city, reflecting in the crystal towers. Music filled the air and lights glowed from every balcony. People from every corner of Vielle gathered to witness the event. Leo stood beside Mira, feeling the warmth and kindness of the crowd. He spoke to them simply, sharing stories of human creativity, cleverness, and courage. He told of small inventions that had changed lives and of ways to work together to solve problems. The people listened, fascinated by his insight and his gentle honesty. Queen Serath addressed the gathering. "Tonight we honor not only the return of my daughter, but the courage of this child. He has shown us that even the smallest heart can make a difference. He reminds us that hope and unity are more powerful than fear." The crowd erupted in applause, cheering for the boy who had changed their perspective. Mira held Leo close, her eyes filled with tears of joy and pride. For the first time in 20 years, she felt that the future of her people was secure. As the celebration continued, the nobles who had doubted the child approached Mira and Leo. Some offered apologies for their mistrust. Others sought advice from the boy, curious to learn his ways. Even Lord Draven, though still proud, bowed in acknowledgement of Leo's bravery and cleverness. The queen watched quietly, her heart full. "Perhaps this is how change begins," she whispered. "Not with weapons, not with fear, but with courage, kindness, and intelligence in even the smallest of hearts." Later that night, Mira and Leo returned to their chambers. The city was quiet now, but the glow from the towers and the gardens reflected a world transformed. Leo looked at his mother and the queen, smiling sleepily. "Mother, do you think everyone will understand now?" he asked. Mira kissed his forehead. "They will, Leo. With time, your courage and kindness will show them the way." Sarath added softly, "And you, little one, will help guide our people into a future of hope and unity. You are the bridge between our worlds." Leo nodded, feeling proud and happy. He had faced fear, danger, and doubt, yet he had shown the best of what it meant to be human. His small hands, clever mind, and brave heart had saved lives, inspired change, and brought two worlds closer together. As he fell asleep, the twin moons shone over the palace, silver and gentle. The city of Iralis was alive with stories of courage, kindness, and hope. For the first time in decades, the people of Vile felt that a new future had begun, one where humans and Vailari could live together, learn from each other, and grow stronger as one. Queen Sareth stood by her balcony watching the stars. She thought of her daughter and grandson, and of the courage and intelligence that had returned to her people. She whispered to the night sky, "The future is bright, and it begins with those who dare to believe in goodness and bravery. Humanity is not our enemy, but our hope." The city slept under the twin moons, and in the heart of one small boy named Leo, the courage, cleverness, and kindness of humanity shone brighter than any crystal in the palace. His journey had only just begun, but he had already shown that even the smallest hearts could change the world. And in the quiet of the palace, with Mira at his side and the queen watching over him, Leo dreamed of a future where fear could be replaced by understanding, hatred by hope, and war by unity. The story of the human child who had returned with love and courage would be told for generations, a story of how bravery, intelligence, and the heart of a single human could heal a world and bring two species together in peace.